Let me ask you something. Do you trust the person who sleeps next to you every night? Like, really trust them? Trust them to the point where you never, ever question anything? Yeah, I trusted her too. 15 years of marriage, 2 kids, a house in the suburbs, dog in the backyard, the perfect American life, you know? Here's the thing. I found out it was all a lie. And it wasn't a small lie. It wasn't like, oh, she hid a purchase on the credit card. No. I found out through a $99 DNA test that the 2 kids I raised for 15 years weren't mine. Neither of them. My name's Michael, and this story I'm about to tell you is going to make you question everything you think you know about trust. If you're someone who's been cheated on, or you're afraid of being cheated on, or you just can't stop watching these stories because deep down you want to learn from other people's mistakes, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and drop a like, because what comes next is going to shock you. Look, before I get into the heavy stuff, I need to give you some context. I need you to understand what my life was like before everything fell apart, because here's what most people don't realize about cheating. It doesn't just happen in bad marriages. It happens in marriages that seem perfect. And mine seemed perfect. I met Rachel in college, Ohio State University, 1998. She was in her second year of education. I was finishing up civil engineering. And man, when I saw her for the first time, it was that cliche, you know? Time stopped. The world went into slow motion. That movie stuff. She was beautiful. But it wasn't just that. She was funny, smart. She had this way of making everyone feel special. We dated for 2 years, got married in 2000, and for a long time, I genuinely believed I was the luckiest guy on the planet. Here's the thing. When you're in love, you ignore things, small things, things that, looking back, were obvious signs. But we'll get there. In 2002, Tyler came along, my firstborn. Man, I cried at the hospital, cried like a baby. I held that little boy in my arms and thought, this is it. This is the meaning of life. This is what I was born for. 3 years later, in 2005, came Emma, my princess. And then life became that chaos every parent knows. Work, school, Tyler's soccer, Emma's ballet, Sunday barbecue, visiting the in-laws. I worked a lot, like a lot. Left the house at 6 a.m., came back at 8 p.m., sometimes even later. And here's the first thing I need you to understand. I did it for my family. Every extra hour was to give them a better life. But now, looking back, look, I'm not saying it was my fault. No way. Rachel made choices, horrible choices, and she's 100% responsible for them. But I ask myself, if I had been more present, would I have noticed the signs earlier? Probably not, because Rachel was good, really good. She lied to me for 15 years, looking me straight in the eyes, every single day, and I never suspected a thing. This is where it gets interesting, because there were signs. There are always signs. Tyler, for example, my oldest son, he didn't look like me, like, at all. Zero. I'm short, 5'7", light brown hair, green eyes. Tyler at 15 was already 6'1", black hair, dark brown eyes, and people commented. Of course they commented. Wow, Tyler didn't get anything from you, huh, Michael? And I would laugh, make jokes. Must have gotten it from the mailman, I'd say. My God, if I only knew. Emma was different. She had some of Rachel's features, so it made more sense. But she also had nothing from me. Nothing. And here's the thing, I never in a million years thought that meant anything, because I trusted Rachel, trusted her blindly. She was an elementary school teacher, for God's sakes, went to church every Sunday. She was the mom who made cupcakes for the school party. How could someone like that be cheating on me? Now, you might be thinking, but you never suspected anything? Never had a gut feeling? And the honest answer is no, never. Or maybe I didn't want to suspect. Maybe it was easier to ignore, because the truth hurts, right? And we do everything to avoid pain, until the truth finds you, and when it finds you, it destroys everything. Christmas 2023. My sister Susan had the brilliant idea to give the whole family those DNA test kits as a gift. You know what I'm talking about, right? 23andMe, Ancestry DNA, those tests where you spit in a tube and they tell you where your ancestors came from. It'll be fun, Susan said. We'll find out if we have any famous relatives. Maybe we're distant cousins of British royalty. Everyone laughed. Rachel laughed. I laughed. $99 per kit. 4 kits, less than $400 to destroy an entire family. Look, if I could go back in time, I don't know if I would do it differently. Because deep down, I needed to know, even if the truth destroyed me. But anyway, we did the test, spit in the tubes, mailed them, and forgot about it. 6 weeks later, the results arrived. February 15th, a normal Tuesday. Rachel had gone to work, the kids were at school, I had taken the day off to handle some things at home. I grabbed the mail and saw 4 envelopes from the lab, one for each family member. And here's the thing, I wasn't even curious. Like, to me, it was just a silly curiosity. Oh cool, I'll find out I'm 80% European, big surprise. I opened mine first, 78% British, 15% Irish, the rest mixed. Exactly what I expected, nothing surprising. Then I thought, let me open Tyler's, I'll show him when he gets home. I opened the envelope, pulled out the papers, started reading, and man, I didn't understand. There was a section called Parental Match, and underneath it said, no match found with Michael Thompson. I read it again, no match found. My brain didn't process it, like the words were there, but they didn't make sense. I thought, this is a mistake. These tests make mistakes. I saw on the news that they make mistakes sometimes. But then I looked at the other envelopes, and a voice in my head said, open Emma's. And I didn't want to open it. Suddenly, I didn't want to know anymore. But I opened it. Parental match, no match found with Michael Thompson. And then the world stopped. That's not an exaggeration. The world literally stopped. I couldn't hear anything anymore, couldn't feel anything. It was like I had left my body and was watching myself from the outside. 2 kids, 15 years, neither of them was mine. Here's the thing. There are moments in life that divide everything into before and after. The birth of a child, the death of a parent, a diagnosis. That moment, sitting on the floor of my living room holding those papers, was my before and after. The Michael that existed before opening those envelopes died that day, and another Michael was born. A Michael full of rage, pain, and unanswered questions. I don't know how long I sat there. Could have been an hour, could have been 3. What I do know is that at some point I got up, went to the bathroom, and threw up. Then I sat on the couch and waited for Rachel to come home. And while I waited, my mind started connecting the dots. All the signs I ignored, all the times I joked about Tyler not looking like me, all of Rachel's girls' nights out, all the teacher meetings that ran late. 15 years of lies. But here's what really destroyed me. It wasn't just the cheating. Cheating I might have been able to get over. It was the theft. She stole 15 years of my life, stole my chance to have real children, stole every moment I spent with those kids thinking they were mine. She stole my reality, and that is unforgivable. 4 p.m. I heard Rachel's car in the garage. My heart was strangely calm. After hours of despair, I had reached a place of coldness, of clarity. I knew exactly what I was going to do. The door opened, Rachel came in with that same smile as always. "Honey, you're home? I thought you were working today." She came toward me to give me a kiss, and I said, with the calmest voice I've ever used in my life, "Sit down, Rachel. We need to talk." Her smile disappeared. She saw my face, saw the papers on the coffee table. "What is this, Michael?" I pushed the DNA results toward her. "You have one chance, one single chance to tell me the truth. If you lie to me now, I swear to God you'll never see me again." She picked up the papers, started reading, and I watched it happen, the exact moment she realized it was over. 15 years of lies, and it was all over because of a $99 test. Her hands started shaking. She went pale. Her eyes filled with tears. "Michael, I can explain." "Who's the father?" She didn't answer. "Who's the father, Rachel?" And she said the name. David. David Thompson. Here's the thing. I have a million friends, acquaintances, coworkers, people I know from barbecues. But a real best friend, one of those true ones, I only had one in my life. David. We met in college. He was the best man at my wedding, Tyler's godfather, the kid's honorary uncle. He had dinner at my house at least once a month. We watched football together every Sunday. And for 8 years, he was sleeping with my wife. 8 years. Now, you might be thinking, how is that possible? How did you never notice? And that's what eats at me to this day. I trusted him as much as I trusted Rachel. When Tyler was born, David was at the hospital. He held my son in his arms and said, "Congratulations, Dad, you're gonna be amazing." And I cried with happiness. He knew that baby was his, and he looked me in the face and called me Dad. What kind of monster does that? Look, I'm not a violent person. Never have been, never got in fights at school, never got into trouble. But in that moment, sitting in that living room, listening to my wife confess that my best friend was the father of my children, I wanted to kill. For the first time in my life, I understood how crimes of passion happen. But I didn't do anything. Didn't lay a finger on her, because I knew the best revenge wasn't violence. The best revenge was destroying her life the right way, legally, financially, socially. And that's exactly what I did. But before that, I needed answers. I needed to understand how this happened. And in the hours that followed, Rachel told me everything. It started in 2004. Tyler was 2 years old. I was working 70 hours a week on a big project. Rachel felt lonely, neglected. "You were never home," she said, as if that was a justification. David started coming around more to help with Tyler, to keep Rachel company, and one thing led to another. Here's what makes me sick. It wasn't once. It wasn't a one-night mistake. It was an 8-year affair, hundreds of encounters, thousands of lies. And at some point during those 8 years, Emma was conceived. My princess, the girl I taught to ride a bike, the girl who fell asleep in my lap watching movies. She wasn't mine. And Rachel knew. She always knew. She knew neither of them was mine, and she looked me in the face every day and pretended everything was fine. 15 years, 5,475 days of lies. That's not just cheating, that's sociopathy. I left the house that night, went to a hotel, couldn't stay under the same roof as her, but I didn't leave with blind rage. I left with a plan. In the following days, I did 3 things. First, I hired the best divorce lawyer in Ohio. It was expensive, but worth every penny. Second, I collected all the evidence I could, screenshots of messages, credit card statements showing romantic dinners when she said she was at teacher meetings, call logs. Third, I got an official paternity test in a lab with legal recognition, because those home tests don't hold up in court. And guess what? The results were the same. No match. Here's what most people don't know about divorce for infidelity in Ohio. Normally, the division of assets is 50-50, but when there's proof of cheating, especially long-term cheating, the judge has discretion to adjust that. And when there's paternity fraud, well, my friend, the game changes completely. My lawyer explained that technically I had been a victim of fraud. Rachel made me believe I was the biological father, and I made financial decisions based on that lie. Decisions like working 70 hours a week to support a family that wasn't mine, putting money in the kids' savings, paying for health insurance, private school, extracurricular activities, 15 years of financial contribution based on fraud. The judge didn't like that one bit. The divorce took 6 months. 6 months of lawyers, hearings, and Rachel crying and begging me to forgive her. "Think about the children," she would say. "You're their father. You've always been." And this is where it gets complicated, because she wasn't wrong, not biologically, but in every other way. I was their father. Tyler and Emma weren't to blame for anything. They were victims just as much as I was. But Rachel was going to pay. The divorce result was this. I kept the house, she got the car. The savings were divided, but I got 65% because of the fraud. Her retirement? Split, with a bigger percentage going to me. And alimony? Guess what? She has to pay me alimony, because for 15 years I held back my career to stay closer to home and take care of children that weren't mine. That affected my earning potential. Poetic justice, as they say. But the financial revenge was just one part. The second part was David, my ex-best friend, the biological father of my children. He was married, 20 years of marriage, to Linda, 3 kids, 2 boys and a girl. And Linda didn't know anything. At least, she didn't know until I sent her an envelope with all the DNA results and a summary of everything Rachel had told me. I know what you're thinking. Michael, you destroyed another family. Linda and the kids weren't to blame for anything. And you're right, they weren't. But Linda deserved to know the truth, just like I deserved to know. She found out her husband spent 8 years cheating on her with her best friend. Because yes, Rachel and Linda were friends. They had a book club together, went to the mall together, while Rachel was sleeping with her husband. Their divorce was even uglier than mine. Linda is a lawyer. She destroyed David. He lost the house, the car, half his retirement, and he lost custody of his kids. Karma exists, and sometimes it needs a little push to arrive faster. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but what about Tyler and Emma? What happened to them? This is the hardest part to tell, because look, I have a lot of anger toward Rachel, anger that will probably last the rest of my life. But Tyler and Emma, they're innocent. They didn't ask to be born into this situation. They didn't choose to have a biological father who's a scumbag and a mother who's a liar. And for 15 years, I was their father. I taught Tyler how to ride a bike. I stayed up all night when Emma had chickenpox. I went to every school meeting, every game, every recital. DNA doesn't erase that. So I made a decision. A difficult decision, but one I think was right. I kept being their father. It's been a year since I found out the truth. The divorce was finalized 8 months ago. Rachel is living with her mother in a small apartment. From what I hear, David left her. When things got ugly, he bailed. Convenient, right? I still see Tyler and Emma every weekend, and during the week we talk through texts, through calls. They know the truth. Not all the sordid details, but the essentials. They know I'm not their biological father. They know their mother made bad choices. And you know what Tyler said when I told him? He said, "Dad, I don't care about DNA. You're my father. You always have been. Nothing's going to change that." I cried more than the day I found out the truth, because that sentence coming from my 15-year-old son meant more than any lab result. Emma was harder. She's younger, more sensitive. She spent a few months angry at me, thinking I was the one destroying the family, but slowly she started understanding, and today we're rebuilding our relationship. It's not perfect. None of this is perfect, but it's real. Here's what I learned from all of this, and I want you to really pay attention because this is important. First, trust, but verify. I'm not telling you to be paranoid. I'm not telling you to spy on your partner or DNA test everyone, but I am telling you not to ignore the signs. If something seems off, it probably is. Your intuition exists for a reason. Second, the truth always comes out. It might take 15 years, like in my case, but it comes out. And the longer it takes you to find out, the more it hurts when you do. Third, you can survive anything. A year ago, when I was sitting on the floor of my living room holding those papers, I thought my life was over. It wasn't. It was just the beginning of a new chapter. And fourth, and most importantly, DNA doesn't make a father. Presence does. Love does. Sacrifice does. David is Tyler and Emma's biological father, but he was never their dad. He never woke up in the middle of the night when they were sick, never helped with homework, never went to a school meeting. I did all of that for 15 years, and no one can take that away from me. Rachel stole a lot from me. She stole 15 years of truth, stole my chance to have biological children while I was young, stole my trust in other people. But she didn't steal my kids, because Tyler and Emma are still my children, no matter what the DNA says. And today, I'm at peace with that. It took a long time, a lot of therapy, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of tears, but I got there. And if you're going through something similar, I want you to know you'll get there too. It's going to hurt. It's going to take time, but you will survive. And when you look back, you'll realize that the truth, as painful as it was, set you free. My name is Michael. I was betrayed by the woman I loved and by the man I considered a brother. I raised 2 children who weren't biologically mine for 15 years. And you know what? I don't regret a single second with them, because being a father isn't about blood. It's about being there, and I always was. If this story touched you, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next stories. And tell me in the comments, would you forgive? Would you have the courage to keep being a father to children who aren't biologically yours? I want to know your opinion. And if you know someone going through a tough situation in a relationship, send them this video. Sometimes we need to hear someone else's story to find the courage to change our own. See you in the next video. Take care, and remember, the truth always comes out. Always.